Hello guys, thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to show you another helmet in my collection, and it's my West German M1A1 modified. It is called the M81 or M85 by collectors, but that's not the official term that the German army used. The Germans called it the Stahlhelm für Bodentruppen M1A1 Modifiziert, which basically translates as M1A1 modified helmet for ground troops. It's made out of magnesium. It's based on the American M1 shell. And as I say, this is the modified version that came out in the very early 1980s. And it lasted up until the very early 1990s when the helmets were superseded by the Kevlar helmets. Anyhow, this is my example here. As I say, some collectors call it the M85, but having said that, mine is actually dated 1984, so that doesn't really ring true. As I say, the Germans never use these terms like M60, M62, M40, M42s, and things like that. It was never used by the German military. That's more a collector's term. But anyhow, it's quite a nice shell. As you can see, it has the 3-point chin strap, which was introduced in the early 1980s, and they were modified. The earlier versions, the so-called M60s, M62s, were modified with the new liner systems, and later on with the 3-point chin strap. But this one here is a brand new, at the time, helmet. It was not modified from a previous helmet. So it's quite a nice condition helmet, a dark olive green. If you had a look at my previous video on my American M1 helmet, you can see this one here shines less. It has a kind of a corked grit layer on the surface mixed with the paint to reduce glare. And it has that M1 American shape to it. And this one only has 3 rivets. One there, one to the back, one on the side here, and then of course there's a screw in the top here to hold the actual liner in place. So these helmets were made by, I think about 3 companies made these. My particular one is marked VDN, which stands for Vereinigte Deutsche Nickelwerke, and that kind of translates as the United German Nickel Works. And as I say, mine is dated 1984 for 1984. So what I'm going to do now is I'll show you the inside the liner. So my helmet is in pretty good shape. It looks like it's been unissued. I bought it from a dealer in Germany. It was sent over from Germany. I bought this helmet about 6, 7, 8 years ago. I can't remember now offhand. But it has the last version of the liner, which has that plastic piece on the back here for the nape. The liner is adjustable. It's adjustable from 57 centimeters to I think about 62 centimeters or thereabouts. Well, in fact, there is a mark here. So it's adjustable from 57 centimeters to 61 centimeters. The liner is that old style leather screwed into the top there. Has the holes on the front here for ventilation for the brow. And as I say, this one has the 3-point system for the chin strap. The only marking, as I say, on the helmet, I'll take a photograph to make it show it a bit easier, but is there on the front of the helmet. And as I said, it has the letters VDN 84 for Vereinigte Deutsche Nickelwerke 1984. And there's also a mark in there, 57 to 61 centimeter shell. So unlike the American M1 helmets, which this is based on, it does not have the separate rim on it. This one has, like the old World War II versions, the rim has been turn back on the helmet, as you can see there. So we got the buckle attachment here, and that fixes into these here. So that one here is for a more secure connection, and this one here has a slot at the top. It's been cut out, so it's a quick release buckle, and it just is riveted to the back here and on the sides there, side of the helmet. So as I say, the liner is adjustable, and there's a screw in the back here. You can tighten it and loosen it and adjust the circumference of the liner as required. It's a very, very comfortable liner. In fact, it's much more comfortable than the American M1 helmets. So that's the liner. I should say the liner is also dated. It's a bit difficult to see, but there is a stamp under one of these tongues here. I'm not going to be able to show it to you, but the liner is dated 1984 as well, and all liners will have a stamp on the bottom somewhere. I'm not quite sure exactly where mine is. Never mind, I'm not going to see it just now. There it is. That's the marking you'll find underneath the liner. And as I say, this one here is dated 1984, just on the side there. You can just see the date there. Otherwise, the liner is more or less exactly the same as World War II liners, with the shoestring in the middle here, keeping the tongues secure together. And it is screwed into the base there, just there, so very similar to the British Brodies of World War II, for example, or the turtle helmets. So it's a very secure attachment. It cushions the helmet quite nicely. The liner is quite comfortable, as I say, and it's quite secure with that plastic nape there. So basically, the liners prior to 1981 were slightly different to that one here. They didn't have the plastic nape guard. From about 1977, the Germans were going to redesign their helmets, and after some testing from about 1977 to about 1980, they came up with the new liner system and the new chin straps. And these helmets were, as I said, retrofitted to earlier shells, and then later on they made brand new helmets, which is what this one here is. Moving on, I've got a helmet net to go on my helmet. This is the so-called, again, I think it's a collector's term, but it's the M62 helmet net that fixes onto the helmet. And it just has these clips, metal clips that clip over the rim of the helmet to keep it in place. For some reason, the Germans did not produce a dedicated helmet cover for their helmets up until the introduction of Flecktarn. So for the very early 1990s, the very last helmets being used by the Bundeswehr had a dedicated Flecktarn helmet cover, but in the 1960s and 70s and 80s they did not. So a lot of Germans use surplus helmet covers. For example, American helmet covers were very popular, which they either got from surplus stores or else trading with American soldiers on maneuvers, or just cutting down camouflage gear and just sticking it underneath the helmet cover, the net there. I think the only service that used dedicated camouflage covers in the 1970s and 80s were the Special Forces, for example, GSG 9 or GSG 9, the counter-terrorism units. They had dedicated covers for their helmets, but the Bundeswehr didn't. So they may kind of do with these helmet nets here, as the name suggests, M62. They were introduced in the early 1960s, and you see a lot of photographs of Bundeswehr troops wearing the helmet with the net. And as I say, it's just a clip that just clips over the end there and keeps it secure. The way I display my helmet is with a American M81 cover, This one is a 1983 dated cover. It goes quite nice with my 1984 helmet. And as I said, a lot of Bundeswehr troops would have traded or borrowed or stolen covers from American soldiers due to maneuvers, or else they were readily available in the likes of army surplus stores, and they were quite popular back in the day. And it fits quite nicely underneath the helmet net. And this is a typical example, I suppose, that a Bundeswehr soldier would have worn in the mid-1980s. Anyhow, that is my Bundeswehr helmet in my collection, my only one. And it makes a nice display item, I think. It looks quite nice with the helmet cover on it. And there we go. That's another closer look at the chin strap here. So again, it has the two positions here, so that one is quite easily just to pull out. In an emergency, that one here is for more secure wear. And the chin strap is fully adjustable, as is the liner. So as I say, it makes a very, very comfortable, very comfortable helmet. One of the better Cold War helmets, I think, and probably the best Cold War steel helmet produced. Anyhow, I'll leave it at that. Hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching, and bye for now.